To share something that happened tonight, or actually about I don't know, about 5-6 hours ago. We had a cat that by the name of Kiki, that's Kiki. And when we moved into our very first home in North Tulsa, in Oklahoma, my wife and I, at that time we were just living together for about a year before we got married. We've been married for about a little over 14 years now, but in the first year we lived together. And our very first house that we had together, there was a cat that lived outside the house, but would live under the house at times. And after a while, we got to know this cat. And she probably was maybe a year old or so, about maybe a year or 2 years tops. And we didn't really take her in yet, but she had babies, and she had like 5 or 6 baby, kittens. And after a while, after she had her babies, and we started to take her into the house. So, and that was about, I don't know, we got the house in June of 2000. And it probably was about August or September when we started to take Kiki into the house. And she became our cat. I mean, she was a cat that lived outside of the house, or she lived in the neighborhood for a year or two, however old she was at the time. But in I'd say about August, September, around in that period of time in the year 2000, we took her in. And she became our cat. And she would go outside and then come back inside. And then when we moved in the year of 2007, she came with us. And she'd go outside somewhat, but she mainly was a house cat. And then when we moved again in 2009, she was pretty much a house cat. She stayed in the house all the time. So she was a cool cat. She was really mellow, never wanted to have any trouble. She pretty much kept to herself. I mean, she was a badass cat. We had like 2-3 other cats. And if those cats fucked with her, she would bat them motherfuckers around. I mean, she would take no shit, don't get me wrong. And we had 3 dogs, and she would stand her fucking ground. I mean, if those dogs fucked with her, they'd lose their fucking eye. I mean, that cat was a badass cat. And as she got older, when she was about 10th, 11th year, I started really to, I mean, all those years that we had her for about 10, 11 years, I didn't really truly respect that cat until she lived in the house all the time. And you realized, even though we had 2 or 3 other cats, and we had 3 dogs, or we had 4 dogs at that time. This is about 2009. We had 4 dogs, and I think 3 other cats outside of Kiki. She ruled the fucking house. I don't give a fuck. I mean, we had a German Shepherd mixed dog, which we still have, Lola. But she would stand her fucking ground. She was a badass cat. And in those terms, I truly started to really understand that cat and respected that cat. In other words, if that cat was a lion or a tiger in the wild and was big and strong like that, that's the kind of cat she was in our household. Even though she was a miniature-sized cat as opposed to a lion or a tiger or a leopard out in the wild, she was a leopard, she was a tiger, she was a lion within the household setting up against these dogs and these other cats. And she was pretty much ruled what was going on. She was in control. And those other animals did not fuck with Kiki. She knew how to, she had her territory, and that was it. And anyway, so the reason why I made this video is about 5-6 hours ago, she had passed on. And it was funny, not funny, but it was interesting. Last night, she was really in bad shape. She was bad shape. She could hardly walk, and she was losing her balance. And the funny thing is I think it was Monday or Tuesday, she was in the kitchen, and there are steps that go down into the back room that lead into the garage where her kitty litter box is at. And I was watching her. She stopped right at the steps, stood there for a little while, and then out of the blue, she like ran, jumped the steps down onto the floor, and went into the garage to go to the bathroom. I was going to check on her, but I said, nah, she seems to be okay. But she had still that gumption in this. She still had that willpower, and still shot out there like a motherfucker, and went out, jumped, she didn't even go down the steps. She just jumped from the top step. There was like 2-3 steps. There's 2 steps there. So she jumped clear across those steps, right onto the floor, and poof, scooted right into the garage. And I thought, well, she's okay. I realized she was starting to slow up there, but she was okay, And that was Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday. And then Tuesday night, she was in a box in the bedroom. There was a box made for her with a towel. And she'd go into the box. And when she went into the box, you knew that something was really seriously wrong. Because an animal is very interesting. When they're ready to die, they want to be left alone. They want to die in peace. They don't want anything around them. I'm pretty sure every animal is like that. Even a human is like that. Unless you're in a fucking hospital. Unless you're in a hospital with fucking hoses stuck in you, and fucking nurses and doctors and all these other motherfucking assholes that want to make money off of your ass. Unless you're in a setting like that, and I hope that I die in my own bed. That's what I prefer. I don't care how excruciating pain there is. I don't give a fuck how much pain there is. I want to die in my own bed with no medication and no hoses stuck out of me, and no doctors and nurses or any of those motherfuckers around me. I want to fucking die in my own bed and deal with death my own way when it comes upon me, which will. Maybe sooner than I think, I don't know. Whenever it does. Hopefully I'll live another 20 years, but you fucking never know. But that's the way I like to die. And that's the way Kiki died. She died, she went into the box. In this box, she had a towel. She went deep in the box, and she just laid there. And the last memory that I have of Kiki is she's in this box. She's laying down. I don't know if you can see this on the video, but she has her one arm stretched out, and she's going like this with her arm. She's going like that with her arm, trying to reach out a little bit. She's trying to move a little bit. And I made eye contact with her, and I was looking Kiki dead in the eye. And her and I always had that very communicative way of, as I do with all my animals that I have, or any humans even for that matter, but mainly for the animals. I have that one-on-one with the eyes. And I was looking at her, and I was saying to her, I understand you're going to die soon, and can't remember exactly what I said, but it was only lasted like a minute or two. But I said to her, I know you quite well. Of course she can't understand a fucking word I'm saying, but still, she understands through the eyes, and she knows that I was with her in that moment there with her, and that I said to her, we all have to die sometime, and that your time is near now, and you'll die, and that'll be it, and you lived a pretty good life, and she lived, as a cat, she lived a very good life. She had the best in life for a cat, and I just said that to her eye to eye. I mean, I verbalized it, but she didn't understand a word I said, but of course, right. But so eye to eye, we're looking at each other. And when I looked into her eyes, and I didn't say anything to her at all, and I looked her in the eyes, she knew that she was going to die. She actually was aware that something was terribly wrong, that something is going to happen to her, that she had absolutely no control over. She knew that. This is the point of my video, why I made a video like this. She knew as a cat, as an animal, that her time was near, that it was over, that she couldn't do anything else but just lay there and let death take over. Because as I was looking at her in the eye, it was like as if she was looking at me from a distance, as if, I don't want this to sound poetic or anything, but it was sort of like death itself, literally death itself, was pulling her to itself. In other words, it was taking Kiki and pulling her to death. I don't know if I can explain that better than that, but it was like, as if to say, it's time for you to die. Death has come. Death is going to take you away from life. Death is going to take you. I don't know how I can explain that, but it was as if to say, she was looking at me from a distance in a way, and I didn't want to. I was thinking, well, is this my imagination or not? I want to see it for what it is. And what it is that death itself was literally taking her out of life into death. And then when I got up and I walked away, I told my wife, Rebecca, I said to her, she'll be dead within 24 hours. Now, that was last night. That was Tuesday night. And I know that because I used to have rats, domestic rats, that I would have literally die in my hand. They twitch a lot, and then they die. So I would have these really intimate moments with my rats in their last moments of their life. And I knew that was pretty much what Kiki was going through. She was like reaching out with her paw. She wasn't twitching or anything, but she was reaching out. She was trying to reach out, hold on to something of life. But she died, and then less than 24 hours, she's dead. She died, and I went to her. Rebecca was like, "Is she really dead? I'm not really sure if she's dead or not." And I looked real close. I couldn't see the heartbeat, and then I touched her back paw and then her front paw, and it was completely cold, and it was lifeless. And that's how my rats die. When they died, this is years ago. I don't have any rats now, but this is back in this was back in like 2007 or so. And when they would die, the instant that they would die, their bodies would get hard, and then they would get cold, and that's when you knew they died. And that's pretty much what happened with Kiki. It got very hard and hardened-like, and then cold. And then we took her in the backyard and we buried her. Because I'm not religious, of course, if anyone knows my videos, I'm not religious. I'm an atheist Jew of all things. But thing is I still believe, not believe, but I believe, well, maybe it is a belief in my own strange way, that, we come from the earth, we go back to the earth. That is, a lot of people out there that are religious probably don't think this way, but the way I think is that we all basically came from the earth. We're all made of the earth, we're made of the minerals, we're made from the Big Bang, whatever you want to call it. We all come from the earth in one way or another. There was the earth, then you had the seas, and then you had the amoebas, then you had the reptiles, and you had the mammals, on and on it went. But basically, we all came from the earth. And so, when an animal dies, even all my rats, including all my rats all my life, and all the mice that I had in my life, or any animal that I had, I would bury them in the ground, because I figure they go into the ground, and the insects and all that other stuff will feed on this dead body, and incorporate it into their lives, or any animals that might be involved as far as being underground or whatever, weasels or rats or whatever, mice or whatever, that burrow into the ground. They digest these animals, or people even, for that matter, although we're on coffins. But anyway, but still, eventually you become devoured by these other species of animal or insects in the ground, and you sort of recycle that way. So in a sense, Kiki, eventually over the next months or year or so, she will wind up being part of the insects, or being part of the rodents, or whatever have you. And in turn, that cycles its own way. And anyway, I know to you, you're probably thinking, what the fuck is he talking about? But that's the way I look at life. I think everything is part of everything else. And one thing feeds off another thing, just like we eat. A lot of vegetarians out there, well, I don't eat meat. Yeah, well, we eat plants, I'm sure the plant, if it could speak, would not want you to eat the fucking plant. I'm sure the plant, if it had its own life, or the vegetable that had its own life could speak, I'm sure it would rather seek the sun than seek your fucking stomach or digestive system. So this whole concept of, well, I don't kill animals, I only eat plants or vegetables, is full of shit, okay? Because believe me or you, if I was out in the wilderness and there was a bear out there, and the bear felt threatened by me, that fucking bear would eat my ass or not think twice about it. For all you all these people that, we can't kill, we should not kill and wear their fur, we shouldn't be vegetarians, Well, I always say, a vegetarian should go out into the wilderness and let a bear, have a confrontation between a bear and yourself, between a bear and a vegetarian. And I'll bet you all the money in the world that the fucking vegetarian is going to think twice about being a vegetarian after that fucking confrontation. Because that bear will tear his fucking head off and not think twice about him being a fucking vegetarian. But enough said on that point. The point is it all recycles one way or another. It all recycles back into earth and everything else. So that was my experience that I had with Kiki. And, Rebecca's more into God and all that shit, and religious, so she's going to be up in heaven and all that bullshit, And I'm like, it's going to be in the earth, in the ground, and insects will eat it, and rodents will eat it, and eventually it'll become nothing but bone, like rock, and in a way, in a strange, abstract way, the cat will serve, quote unquote, serve other species of insects or mammals or whatever have you. So it's not a complete waste as far as her dying is concerned. She will live on through the insects and the mammals in their own way, and they'll die, and other mammals and insects will feed on those insects and mammals that died, and so on and so forth. That's the way I look at life. That's the way I look at life. When I die someday, hopefully it's a little while from now, but you never know. You know, I could die tonight, and then you'll never see a video of me again. Maybe that's good. I don't know. But anyway, the point is, you know, when I die, insects, rodents, whatever have you, will feed on me, and so on and so forth. We decompose, and the bacteria, viruses that live dormant in me, once I die, I will decompose, and those viruses and bacteria will literally eat me from within and feed on me, and so on and so forth. So, but my point of the video is, believe it or not, was the fact that Kiki knew that she was going to die. So animals have a good sense. When they're in that dying stage, before they actually die, they know just as much as humans know. So therefore, all animals know, and all humans know, in their own way, in their own quiet way, they know that they're about to die. So for humans to think that we have some kind of edge on the fact that we are these brilliant species of animal, which we are pretty much, we're more of a higher intelligence, of course, from the other animals, for the most part, that is. Nevertheless, humans know that, like, if I'm going to die or anyone's going to die in the future, you know pretty much you're going to be dead soon, very soon. And animals know that too. Animals know that too. They know that they're going to die. I could see it in Kiki's eyes that she knew that something was terribly wrong and that she was leaving. In other words, death itself was taking her. Well, not like death was like a living thing or anything, don't get me wrong. But death in an abstract way was actually taking her to itself. It's very abstract, and some people may get it, some people may not. But death itself was actually taking her life, the little bit of life that she had, it was taking that to itself. And that cat, Kiki, I mean, she knew that she was going to die. She knew it. And you might say, yeah, that's your imagination. You're full of shit. Well, she knew something was wrong. And she knew something was pretty dire. And she knew that that it was going to be over soon. She knew that. So for humans to think that we only understand death or we acknowledge death and all that is full shit. Animals know that too. They have they have that inherent instinct as well. Just like humans, animals have that too. Anyway, this was, I guess in a sense, dedicated to Kiki. She's a great cat. And if you think about it, she's a much smaller domesticated cat, but she's no different really than a lion or a leopard or a tiger out there. She's just much smaller and much more domesticated, of course. But if that cat was against a mouse, is no different than a tiger against an alligator. It's all relative. It's all relative, baby. It's all relative. All relative. So this was for you, Kiki. I love you. I loved you a lot. Always love you, Kiki.